Well, hey friends, this is Rebekah, and you're listening to Resilience with Rebekah, where we have real people come together with real conversations about real life. Sometimes it gets messy, sometimes it's a little silly, sometimes it's a lot of fun. Actually, it's always a lot of fun. It's always about getting back up and walking in resilience. And today we have our fellow resilience traveler, Tanya, who calls herself a job exit strategist. I think that is so cool. And her job is to help you quit your job. So I'm really interested about hearing about that because I know there's a lot of people that are ready to move forward and move sideways or never. It's never about moving back, but I know there's a lot of people that are ready to move forward or make changes or challenges that they're facing, and it
Mhm.
sounds like you are the person to talk to when they are ready to start that journey.
Mhm. Yeah,
So welcome to the show.
thank you.
All right. Well, Tanya, we get on here and we talk about resilience. It is
Mhm.
literally my favorite topic right now. Um, it's not the funnest topic to learn how to use, right? But it is something that, man, when you walk in it, I think we're often amazed at the people we become in the process of it.
Absolutely, yes.
And so today, what I want to ask you is there something you're willing to share with us about a time in your life or in your business where you really faced something that caused you to have to learn to walk in resilience or learn to build it or lean into what you had in your storage there?
Yeah, it's not even a matter of if, it's a matter which story I'm going to extract. So if
True.
I think about the touch points in my career, odd enough, the first thing I think about, and I know what I'm about to say is so strange, but I promise there's something at the end. I'm ex-military. So one of my favorite assignments, I was actually an instructor that taught people how to survive a grenade assault course. In order to do this, I was one of two women on the team, and there would be men and women cadets that would train. So they always wanted a woman to go through the course. Think about like an obstacle course, except there's like grenades in there. And here's the thing, physically, I'm only 5'2". The first thing you got to scale is a 6 foot wall, and it is really built for a 6 feet man. And I remember as I went through it, I'm like, I am not going to be able to do this if I do this like the way a man does it. So I had to figure out from my height how to do stuff, how to use, for instance, the structure of the wall to get over it, since I can't just put my hands over it. And what I had to learn how to do is how do I maneuver in this space for someone who literally I'm a foot shorter. Here's the funny part, as I did it, I actually started to beat some of the men because strength will only get you so far. I had to use my wit. And I feel like that was a really great life lesson, that you have to work with the cards you've been dealt. It is not always going to be fair, it is not always going to be in your favor, but you can learn to maximize what you have. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I even have a LinkedIn post of me going through one of the tires. And when I looked at the tire, the first thing I thought was how many times I fell over it and hit myself. So you're gonna get bruised. It's gonna hurt. You're not always gonna win, and it's just to keep going. And I think that was a lesson that took me far. And I would say the second touch point was when I first became a financial advisor. So this is back in like 2003. So in my training classroom, maybe 300 people, three women. I am a Black female. I literally was the only Black person in the building, not the class, not my cohort, the building. And it's funny because my first thought was, well, everyone's definitely going to remember me. That stands out. And this was so long ago. And it was so fun. And my only, it was so funny. When I entered there, it wasn't even from a place of intimidation. It was more of I am going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. It never occurred to me I couldn't succeed. It just
Oh,
occurred to me how I would do it. So I remember towards the end in this particular company, if you did well, you would get like featured in their commercials. I remember people asking, what do you guys want to do? And I don't know what made me say, I'm gonna be in the commercial in 3 years. Yes, I was in the commercial in 3 years. And I think I didn't see an exit door on it not working. And trust me, I want to just not gloss over this. I had my fetal position ugly cries. I had my moments where I thought it was crazy. But I think there's something to not seeing the exit door to a situation. I didn't see an out. I really didn't have one. I didn't see one. And I truly believe resilience, half the battle of resilience is not seeing the exit door, because if you have no choice in your mind, you will figure out a solution, and it is always painful. And I think when I just said, I'm just going to deal with the pain of this, I feel that helps. And then I would say the third one came a lot later, and that was when I was in my career. It was a couple of seasons. I hit all the check marks. I had the position, I had the income, I had the title, and I was miserable. And I feel
mm,
like in a way that's a little different, because when everything is comfortable, how do you leave and how do you go? And it was embarrassing to even admit that I wanted to go. It was embarrassing to admit that I wasn't happy. Like it's like no one really talks about that when you just don't feel good. And the universe corrected it for me. I am sitting in a Zoom meeting ready for a performance review thinking I'm gonna get accolades. And instead I get punished because I told my supervisor that I wanted to go to the closing of my house and I would not be able to make a meeting. I failed a cosmic loyalty test.
mm,
I That was hard because I had given my heart, my soul to this company. And I think of all the airplane rides, all the kids' events I missed, and all of this started crashing to me. And I don't know if anyone have had one of those moments where you feel utterly betrayed. I
mm,
felt broken, to be honest. Like
yeah.
I just felt broken because I felt so betrayed. And I thought this, like my closing on a house is a personal insult. And I just felt betrayed. It was like every corporate thing that ever happened came crashing through, and I felt so powerless.
Mm,
And that was rough. Like that, like I was in a fetal position for a couple of days with that one, to be honest. But when I picked myself up, I said, you know what? They don't get to write the end of this. Like this chapter sucks, but I get to narrate how it ends. And I left. And here's the thing, when I left, quitting the job was the easy part. Quitting the corporate mindset and letting go of the toxicity and all the bad habits, that is a resilience all in of itself. And I feel like as business owners, especially for those of us, like I was in my late 40s when I went into business, no one ever talks about how extraordinarily hard that is.
mm. Yeah, that's for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah. So I like that you were in all three of your situations you mentioned those messy middles. And
It's, yeah.
yeah, I think those messy middles are what we get stuck in those. And I love how you kept saying, but when I got back up, but when I got back up, I love to hear that resilience kicking in and
Yeah, no
getting
one
back up.
talks about it. Yeah, no one. I don't understand why no, because I felt like I kept thinking, was there like a secret business owner memo that maybe I was at the salad bar? Because everyone is like, I just quit my job and the birds were singing and everything was wonderful. And next thing you know, the business was great. And I'm like, that was not my story. I was in a fetal position, crying, questioning every life decision, wondering I gave up all of this to make my kids make more money in fast food than I am making right now. What was I thinking? Like, and no one talks about those moments.
Right.
How hard it, like, how much of my identity was tied to my work, how much I identified with the career, how heartbreaking that was. Um, The days when you get so many no's, you just can't take it anymore. The days when you're doing so much work and you are seeing zero, and you're like, is it just me? Because this influencer did the same thing I did and they just made $20 million. What's wrong with me? And to have to keep moving forward, and it hurts and it's painful. And I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it for anyone. It can be done, but it sucks. Like, someday it's absolutely worth it, but being worth it and it being painful are two different things. It's
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I get you. You're talking my language right there. I was thinking when you were talking about those, the
yeah,
exhaustion that comes in the process of trying to build something that matters to
yeah,
you.
yeah,
You know that you have a gift to share with somebody, or a something to share with somebody that would help another person, and yet you're hitting all the walls. So yeah, yeah, you're speaking right to me there, girl. I hear you. And yeah, I think a lot of times people don't share it because they don't want to be vulnerable. And when you're sharing like your story, you're sharing vulnerable parts of yourself, and people are afraid to show their vulnerability because they're afraid it makes them look weak. But I think, man, when you admit that you struggle, when you admit that things are not going great, that's when your strength starts showing. When you lean on other people and when we build each other up.
yeah. One of the huge advantages I had, well, as a job exit strategist, I work nonstop with people who are quitting their jobs. And I also have been a mentor to new business owners. And I started to realize my struggle was the norm, not the exception. And that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to be as transparent as I can, because you hear the 1%, but it feels so loud because they are speaking the loudest. But the norm is you're going to quit your job and question every life decision you made. I love how a friend once said, a business is the most masochistic self development experiment you would ever choose to perform on yourself. Every doubt, everything you fear will come to life, but you give a chance to metaphorically give birth to something that is uniquely you, make an impact that I don't care how much pain I go through, that I can do. Like sitting across a midlife woman who don't think she can quit her job, and I show her how this is possible. There is no W-2 income that can give me that satisfaction of when I see her, when I see how confident she begins to feel, when she begins to believe it, and especially when I see the resignation levels, that just brings me joy. Nothing can duplicate that feeling. But no one talks about the after, how the first 3 months, most people think they're going to just hit hard and they end up hitting Netflix and Ben and Jerry's because all the toxicity comes up and you're exhausted. No one talks about the next 3 months where you just feel insane, floundering in all this new technology, trying to figure stuff out. And no one talks about the following 3 months where the reel of how long this is going to take hits, that 9 month panic where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm burning through money as quickly as possible. Or that last 3 months of that first year of a spiral of, can I really do this? And every day you are questioning yourself. But you hit this resilience point, and you just get to this point of resolute that, you know what, I'm gonna stay here to make it work. But I feel like if people knew what that first year really was like, it wouldn't be a surprise, and more importantly, they would financially plan for the reality of that first year.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of truth to that. A lot of truth to that. When when you were talking about being in the messy middles, because
Mm,
I not that I want to stay in the messy middles, but I think that like you're saying, a lot
yeah.
of what you're saying is about the messy middle, that people, are thinking they're the only ones that feel like they're in that. Well, when you found yourself in the middle of a messy middle season, what did you find? What did you learn about yourself in that season?
I learned that I could watch Netflix for 12 hours straight, and I was quite gifted at it. Um, I bent. I I I learned. I don't know if this makes sense. I'll recover. Like I think there was this fear that if I made a mistake, I would make this doomsday mistake in my business, that I can't recover from, and I could.
Hmm.
What I also learned is you can't circumvent the messy. Every resilience I had came from walking through the messy. And I don't care if you have a business coach, you're going to experience the messy. It may be easier because a coach walked you through it. It may not be as messy, but you can't, you have to have the messy and success are together. You can't have one without the other. And when I look back, some of the best things that happened emerged after the mess.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking the word necessary should be necessary, right?
Yes, I love that. I love that. But 100%.
So when you hit those moments when you just said, I don't know if this is the right move, and it may be the complete, everything may fall apart if I make this one decision. How did you how did you anchor yourself in that moment instead of giving up? Because it doesn't sound like you gave up. It sounds like you figured out how to anchor yourself and keep moving forward, even when it was scary, when you were in those fetal positions, screaming and crying. How did you anchor yourself in those seasons?
Okay, therapy definitely helped. So I was going through therapy for part of this. And one of the techniques that I was given was put my thoughts on trial. And I thought, so I would have a thought, I don't know, this strategy is just not going to work. And I had to ask myself, why not? Is it because it's taking too long? Is it because I don't want to do it? Or truly, no one in the universe has made this work? And when you pragmatically take a step back and look at it from a non emotional lens, it helped me to see things differently. Sometimes my expectations were just unreal. Like I was going to post 3 LinkedIn posts and just get a ton of clients. It doesn't work that way. So putting your thoughts on trial helps. Um, I would talk a lot into AI. Sometimes I feel like it became my third therapist. Also, community. Having other people to talk to, and particularly those in business ownership space, those that are maybe a step ahead of you, that was so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know there's still, even though you're moving forward, you're probably doing pretty well right now, but I'm sure there's mornings where you wake up where you just feel like today is not going the way I was hoping it would, and I start feeling uncertain again. I start questioning everything again. What is it? What is it? What resources do you pull from? Like if you woke up this morning and you knew it was going to be one of those days, a messy day, what's a resource you would dig into? What's your first step right there?
Um, so for me, identify as a Christian, so I start with prayer. I cannot, like, that grounds me because it reminds me of whose I am and who I am. I need that first. Like, I have learned if I do not start off the day in prayer, and for me, I love the armor of God. I put on my armor. Like, I go through Ephesians. That anchors me in my day because I automatically know who I belong to. I automatically know I'm here to fulfill a calling and I'm not doing it by myself. So having that anchor helps set the tone of my day. And when I do that, grace is 2 ways. It's like I have to give grace to myself.
Yes.
So giving myself grace to say things like, and I don't know why, as business owners, we put this insane expectation on ourselves. I am doing something new. It is ridiculous for me to think that I have to do it perfectly or I know what to do. I'm going to take a best guess. And if it doesn't work, then I go to 2.0 version and 3.0 version, and I go to whichever version is going to work. And that really helps. But I find the days I don't start in prayer, the days I don't put on armor of God, are the days where I go sideways the most. So those have to anchor me. Also, when I have those days, if it's bad enough, I do nothing. Like, I really think it's okay to take a break. I
Mm,
do walks because sometimes I just need to center myself, and sometimes it's an indication that I just need to rest. Because I
yeah.
don't know if you're like me, I can go 24/7, and I could like I get thoughts all the time. So I think maybe if you just can't move forward, maybe it's a hint to just rest.
Uh, yeah, you're definitely speaking my language. That's one of my main things
Mhm.
I tell my clients is that it's okay to not be okay and to take those moments to just be.
Yeah,
We're human beings, not human doings.
I love that.
And we forget that. And it's like sometimes we just need to stop and be human and
Yep,
rest and recoup and but but we hear the voices hustle, 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 hustle. I've taken that word completely out of my thing. Not that I ever used it much anyway.
me
But
too.
yeah, get that out of there because that's not who I am.
Yeah,
That's not even who I am, and so learning to rest and learning to put your priorities in order. I love it. I love it. I love hearing what you're saying because you're definitely speaking. Now I know I had you on here. You're speaking right to my heart here. So how do you feel like you are able to come back from disappointments or loss? How do you feel what is something that you feel like you're able to do now as a result of growing through these different seasons that you're able to come back from disappointment and loss maybe a little bit. I hate to use the word easier because I don't think any season is ever easier than another, but we just get a little stronger.
yeah. I cycle through them quicker
Mm,
because they begin to take a familiar tone. Because if you've gotten several business disappointments, they still hurt, but they feel familiar. I gave myself permission for it to suck. And I don't know if that, like, I feel, why do we have to mask disappointment? Why do we have to pretend it doesn't hurt?
mm,
And I think, I don't know if other people felt the way I did, but I felt if I allowed myself to feel hurt, I would sink into this abyss of emotions that I can't get myself out of. You're going to climb yourself out. Like, you will get out of it. So just allowing myself to sink, allowing myself to process, and being okay with that. If I have to take a long walk, I love walks outdoors, then I do it. If maybe I just need a half a day, clear my schedule, I now give myself permission to be human. And oddly enough, I cycled through it faster when I was pretending I was a robot and I could just shove it aside and move forward. It was actually harder when I did that.
think it's waiting for you when you push it aside. It's just waiting for you at a later time.
Great way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what part of you grew quieter or stronger in since you've been kind of noticing these things about how you're handling things?
I trust myself more and I trust my intuition more because when you get to the other side of the messy, you're not the same person.
No.
You grow in this resilience, but you grow in so many other areas. It's like the seed that plants, that sprouts this fruit that feed these other parts of who you are. And you grow. And all of a sudden, even in the past, what used to just make you go crazy, you're like, of course, there's always something in the future waiting for you. So now I know what's on the other side of messy. And now I'm a little bit more comfortable with the messy. And if I'm honest, there was ego there because it was the ego of I expected perfection.
Mhm.
I expected to know what to do. I expected things to work the same way it did in my career, which was ridiculous because I'd never been self employed. So, why would I expect something different? So, I now lay aside the ego. I accept I am brand new at this. And I also have trust. Like, I love this acronym for trust, true reliance on spiritual timing. If I am where God wants me to be, I'm going to trust His sovereignty. And I'm going to trust it is going to work. It's not going to be in my timing. It's not going to be in my way. That's okay. And I feel I've let go of this. I have to control the situation.
Oh, ooh, letting go of control. Oh, you're messing with a lot of people's hot
Yeah.
point now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't admit it.
I'm there with you. Yeah.
So what's one thing you would encourage somebody who seems to be stuck in their messy middle right now? What's something you would say that would encourage them to not to not give up, to build, to lean into that resilience, to build that resilience?
One, if they can find community with other people. It was nice to hear I wasn't the only one. The other one, okay, nowadays with technology, we can do this. Talk it out. Like if you're a verbal processor, just turn on whatever system you're using and just verbally vomit on a piece of paper and whatever and just speak. And this is the reason why I say that when I saw what I was thinking, I was like, one, oh my gosh, I'm not very nice to myself. And then two, this is ridiculous. So record yourself if you just need to do things audibly. And just put it on paper and just actually look at what you have said. And I found that separation works. Also, you are human. It's okay to give yourself permission to take a break.
It's big. It's
Yeah.
big. It's big. So we've used the word resilience a lot, of course.
Mhm.
That's what we're talking about. It's what the whole podcast is about. It's the word. It's the word.
Yeah.
But what is a definition of resilience when you hear it? What's your actual definition? What does it mean to you?
Throwing up and doing it anyway. Like it's painful. I mean, it's just like it just I don't know how else that's the best way I can put it. It is accepting that it's just gonna hurt, dealing with the hurt, and keep going. I remember I told someone that I considered one of the wisest people and pieces of advice I ever heard was Dory from Finding Nemo, and just keep swimming. Some days you're going to swim inches, some days you're going to swim miles, but remember on both days you're still moving.
Awesome. So is that your would that be your word that resilience represents, like a single word?
Mm, moving.
Moving.
Resilience is moving. You are, I mean, again, it may be a micro inch, but we'll take it.
Oh, I like it. I like it. I think we have to make if the word doesn't mean anything to you, it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
It's the word I'm using right now, but it might mean something totally different to somebody else, where they
Mm,
might hear a different word and be like, "Oh, that's what you mean by resilience."
yeah.
So I want to make sure we kind of dig into it a little bit and kind of give people options of different words and things to make it real to them so that
I
they're
love that. Yeah.
encouraged to move forward. So I
Yeah.
love that. Moving. I'll have to write that one down.
Mm,
Moving. Well, Tanya, I thank you so much for being on today. It's been so much fun catching up with you and hearing your story and learning more about you. I also wanted to say before I forget, thank you for your service.
thank you.
Mentioned you were in the military. I want to make sure we honor that fact out loud to everyone. Thank you for your service and being willing to do that for your country, and I appreciate that. And I want to thank everyone else for hanging out with us today on Resilience with Rebekah. In this episode, we got a little bit messy, and I love it. And I want everyone to know that if you ever feel like you're in the messy middle, you're not alone.
Mm,
You are not alone in that. You're much more resilient than you think. And if you think you're the only one, I encourage you to tune in here, and you'll hear all kinds of different stories of people who have been in the messy middle and have thought that maybe it was time to give up and chose not to, and they become resilient and stronger in the midst of it. So if this spoke to you in any way, please share it. Be Let other people know what's going on, and let's all walk together in resilience.
mm.